Now it is time for the HVAC, the heating, ventilation, and lighting. It's not HVAC. Heating, air, and light for the 10-gallon aquarium. For the heater, I've just got this little, pretty small, just to keep the, it's a compact, right? So it keeps from taking up too much space. So it's 50 watts. And when you're thinking about what kind of heater to use, remember that you can just multiply the gallons by 5 and you'll get the right number of watts for your heater. So this is a 10-gallon tank. 10 multiplied by 5 is 50. So it's a 50-watt heater. All right. There are charts online as well. If you don't feel like looking up a chart, just multiply your gallons by 5 and you'll get the heater that you need for your tank. Because, yeah, it saves on energy to use the right amount of heat. You don't want to be using a huge heater for this little tank, and yet you want to have it warm enough, you know what I mean? So yeah, so 50 watts is the right size for a 10-gallon. So that's the heat. What next? Oh yeah, ventilation or air. I don't really need air that much because I'm not putting fish in this tank. It's just a plants only, right? Like I said before. So I'm using this little thing. And the main reason I'm using it is to give a little bit of flow because I have a bulbitis and bulbitis really like flow. So, so yeah. And the reason I like these little ones is because when the air goes in somewhere here, yeah, right here. The air goes in right there at the bottom, comes up the tube, and then so the water comes out the side. So you get a sideways flow rather than an upward flow. And that's what I like. The sponge, don't really need a sponge because there's no fish. But to protect this intake from algae, I want to cover it. So it's just sort of a cover to prevent any algae from getting in there too quickly. These you can get on Amazon. There's a bigger size too. I have used the bigger size in this aquarium. Usually if I have fish in a 10-gallon tank, I will use the bigger one. I think I used this even when I had a betta, and bettas don't really need that much filtration because they breathe air, right? But yeah, they both work really well. I've used both. And they work, they are very good value because they don't get worn out very fast either. So yeah, Amazon. So yeah, I mentioned that I'm not having any fish. So I don't need, I don't need a ton of filtration because it's just a plants only tank, keeping plants over the winter. For the lighting, I kind of like these. I like the industrial look of that. So nice. I like reptile fixture, and then I use compact fluorescent bulbs inside. So this one is actually overkill because for lighting a tank, you multiply the gallons by 75 if you want a high light. Go with 55 or so if you want a medium light, and 30 if you want a lower light. And that will give you the lumens, okay? Now this light is overkill because even if I go with high light, 75 lumens per gallon times 10 is 750 lumens. This one is 860 lumens. Now that's okay, but just if you do this, expect to get a lot of algae growing. So what I'm going to do is make sure I've got my carbon dioxide going as well, so that the plants can grow really fast and use up all the nutrients, and then the algae won't grow because they can't compete. The fast growing plants will eat up all the food and there'll be none left for algae. So that's what I do. So you have to, when you're putting up a tank, not all tanks are the same. Not everybody has the same equipment. We don't have all the same ideas. We don't have the same fish or anything. Nothing is the same. Even when the one person puts up 2 different tanks, the 2 different tanks are different. So you got to go with information. When you set up your tank and you have a certain set of equipment, or you have a certain thing that's going to affect, it's going to be the major thing in the tank. So in this tank, this light is going to be the major thing because it's really overkill. So I have to adjust everything else to go with the light because the light is overkill. The light is going to make me have carbon dioxide because that's how you get plants to use up the nutrients. Because if the plants aren't using the nutrients, the algae will love that light. It will love to use that light to eat some nutrients and multiply itself. But I am going to give my plants extra CO2 so that they can grow really fast and eat the food up before the algae can get to it. So that's what happens, when you're doing a tank. You got to really think. Don't just follow whatever somebody else says. No matter how nice they are, you can't just follow exactly what they're doing because it's never going to be exact anyway. That's your tank. You have to figure out what is best for that tank. This tank does not have much substrate. It just has a little bit of gravel on the bottom. I will be fertilizing the water. It's got high light, so I have to give it carbon dioxide. Okay. So now the reason I use compact fluorescents, even though they're hard to get, at one time I couldn't even find them, but now I've found that Home Depot is carrying them, but they get shipped from the state of Georgia, in the States. They get shipped from Georgia to West Coast Canada, taking weeks. Weeks it takes for me to get my bulbs from Georgia. But I just love the light, the color of them. I get 6500 K, perfect color, and my plants love them. I can't seem to get any better than this. So if I had lots of money, I would buy one of those Kessel, those lights that are really expensive. That's what, if I didn't buy this, if I had money, I would buy that, not this. But since I don't have that kind of money, I go with the next best thing, in my opinion, is compact fluorescents. So there you go. And that is it for equipment. Yeah, that's all the equipment that will be in there. And we'll talk about the CO2 another time, next time. Okay. See you in the next one.